preparing the live stream. Okay, we are live streaming on Facebook. Hey everyone, it's Morna Haist here, the host of The Love Seat, and I'm with the amazing and beautiful Henrietta Devine, and I'm just waiting for us to get live and on my page so that I can share this into the group, and then we will be live in the group. So bear with us, everyone who is not watching yet, because we're not live in the group. And now people are sending me messages. I love it. Okay, I'm going to copy the link. I love it when somebody sends me notes saying, how are you doing? I'm going live on Facebook. That is how I am doing. Okay. And then let's get to the bear with us here, everyone. Okay, posting us into, all right. Okay, yay, only a minute later and we are now live in Revolutionary Woman, Global Possibility, Power and Progress. And I am joined today by the amazing Henrietta Devine, and I'm just fiddling with some stuff here, which is why you can see my my eyes going all over the place. And okay, I cannot find the beautiful formal introduction that we wrote about you, Henrietta, so I'm going to introduce you as the enabler of all good things, which I love. And from there, I'm going to ask you to tell us, well, what does that mean? What does it mean to be the enabler of all good things? And where are you tuning in from? And what would you like to share with us by way of introduction? And welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. I love that this is the love seat. I do feel loved here with you. So thank you.
Yay.
An enabler of all good things. What does that mean to me? I see many good hearts, and I see the passion and desire that people have to really activate something, a cause of some sort. And oftentimes when you get to that place of like, oh, I'm called to do something bigger, you may sometimes feel like you're alone, or that the people that you're around with currently don't see or share the same visions that you do. I do. I see it and I feel it within you. And to enable you to get to that place where you start taking momentous action towards your purpose, what you're called to do and what you're aligned to do. I do it so naturally that it just enabling somebody else to do it. And it comes in all different ways, whether it's coaching, guidance, strategy, a confidant through it. I am there holding your hand through the next portal that you're going through and lovingly nudging you along to get there. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. And obviously I love that you're talking about love, and I'd love to dive more into that as we progress through our conversation. And before we get there, I'd love to know, tell us about what you're doing personally in the world and the beautiful environment that you're in right now and the work that you're doing and how that came to be.
There are many facets that I'm doing. I'm coming to you from Vancouver. This is my studio. I call it The Nest. The Nest stands for the Nest stands for Nourish, Evoke, Serve Together. And so when we're here, this is our purpose. This is our focus when we're here landed at The Nest. And The Nest is my work studio. We'll have coaching, group coaching that's done here, events that are done through here. And like a nest, you're here for a period of time for growth, nourishment, development, and then you move on from the nest. And what's great about the nest is that you can always return home to it. And so that's how I feel my spaces are contained. Here's my design studio. So out of here, I design and print t-shirts that are play on food and garden words. They say things like root down, cultivate, this is my jam, grounded deep to earth. And we use the proceeds to educate children about urban agriculture. Because it's important for us to stay connected to planet Earth and understand where our food comes from and how nourishing food and healthy food choices really affect our physical body. And when our physical body is affected and how we can tune into that, It taps into our emotional and mental state of being as well. And so driving young children to understand how important it is to be connected to Mother Nature, that there will be this value that gets instilled into them. They naturally already want to be outside and hang out with the trees and look at bugs and insects and things.
Yeah.
And so to encourage more of that and not to remove that connection that they innately have, so that as they grow older, that they start making these political changes necessary for us to move away from a system that robs us of our natural resources and implement things that really protect and take care of it. And we see it already in the younger generation. It makes sense to them. What doesn't make sense is how are we not paying more attention? How are we not putting more resources into these areas that are extremely, extremely valuable to us? We're not just talking about like, oh, it's for my kids' future. Like it's for all of our well-being. Yeah, a huge collective of it all. And so the understanding that they have for that and to support that, and again, and enable more of that understanding is really what our driving passion is behind TAGULAN and doing that.
Yeah, Henrietta, I love that. And I just want to say to folks, if you're joining us, part of this sort of kind of a weird setup now with Zoom and Facebook is that I'm actually not sure who's live and who's not. So if I can't see that you're here live, I apologize for that. If you are here or if you're watching the replay, let us know you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from and let us know what resonates for you during our conversation. And I want to pick up, Henrietta, on a couple of threads. First is I do believe that it's a revolutionary act to reconnect children in particular to where the things that we experience in our everyday life actually come from. That, you know, I know that the idea that we can be so separated from so many of our systems. Our food system is, you know, when we go into the supermarket, that piece of food or that package that we're picking up has gone through so many steps to end up in that place. And so I think reconnecting children in particular with the fundamentals of life and a connection to those fundamentals, I think is extremely transformative and gives us a window into reconnecting rather than being distanced from how things really happen or how that product was actually made and how it got to you. How did you choose this focus? And I'm riffing off a conversation that I just had in my dojo program this morning, and we were talking about how different actors in a system of change, how we play different roles as actors in the system of creating the kind of change that we're here to make. How did you decide, and this maybe is a big question to answer, that I know it's a huge one. Do you have any clues into how you made the choices to focus on this part of the system?
Yeah. I can be completely honest with you and say that this wasn't a choice that I made and said, oh, this is what I'm going to do now. It was, this is what you're called to do. Here are all the proofs in your life that you've experienced so far that get you to this place. Here's some more supporting evidence for that as well. So at the time, I knew for a very long time that I was going to own my own company of some sort. Didn't know what it was. I grew up in a household where you go to school, you get good grades, you go to university. I studied to be a criminal lawyer. My entire childhood was like, I'm going to grow up and be a lawyer. I got into that environment and I was like, these are not my people.
You know, it's so interesting. I just want to say as an aside that one of my close friends is a career counselor, and she was telling me that the number one group she works with is women in their 20s and 30s who became lawyers. And who all tell a very familiar story of this path that they just found themselves on and then woke up one day and went like, what?
Yeah, pretty much. You can imagine the disappointment in my parents' face. And I was just like, I'm not doing that. Not doing that.
Excuse me. Yeah. What was that like? Was that, you know, were there heavy expectations in your family if this is the path that one takes?
Yeah, I think so. I come from, my parents immigrated to Canada, and I think like many immigrant parents, they want better for their children than they had for themselves. And the culture and society that North America brings is this is the course of action to reach that American dream.
Right.
And so to stay the course, to define success, is really what was super important to immigrant families. And I'm sure anyone who is children of immigrant families would attest to that as well, that there is this pressure to fulfill the needs and desires of our parents, to get their approval, and to prove to them that the work that they put forward and all the things that they've given up and really to them would reflect that they've done a good job. Mind you, now I strongly believe a lot of that mindset is changing, and finding a lot of people having the courage to go against the grain of what their parents' expectations are. And as we discover that, that's a whole nother personal journey in itself, and to find the support around that, I think will be really, really important work for anyone who's able to hold space or support a group of people who are looking for that kind of support, because it's just not talked about within cultures.
Yeah, it's curious too. I see this through a similar but obviously different cultural lens. I'm a first generation Pākehā New Zealander, and my parents lived in 5 different countries, and they eventually chose New Zealand because they were seeking to leave the kind of hierarchy and ironically colonizing structures, because they ended up in another colonized country, colonizing structures that they'd left behind. And they were I just feel like it's almost a cliche story, 2 kids, $30 coming in a boat kind of situation. And it's interesting because neither of my parents were academically focused, but my father in particular was just ferocious in his desire to be passionate in life. And that's certainly what he instilled in me. And it's really fascinating to view that through a different cultural lens, and to view the other way that it kind of plays out, or the big dominant way that it plays out in North America, of getting the good education, getting the good job. And I'm also curious how those systems may be changing and morphing and breaking down, because I think so many more of us are becoming more aware of the illusion of that pathway. Yeah. That pathway is crumbling right now. And so that's a whole other, kind of went into the swamp there a little bit around that. What is that? How has that played out in your family and in your culture and the people around you? What does your family think now, actually, is the question I'm wanting to ask.
Yeah. I think they're very proud of the honor and recognition that I'm giving back to my family. So knowing that I wanted to own a company after studying law, I'm like, this is not what I want to do. I went into corporate. I was in sales and operations. I had a great sales team, managed, goals that needed to meet annually, and then also implemented an enterprise resource planning system within 3 countries, so that these different countries of manufacturing can communicate exactly what the customer at the end would desire. It's a lot of fancy things. I was really good at it, to set up systems and structures and understand the workflow in the overall organization of it. And then when I was able to step away and stay home with my children, I was every few months I'm like, I need to be contributing in some way. No, wait till the kids are in school full time and then focus on that. Right now, this is your focus. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. And I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to be able to stay home with them and be with them all the time. And at the same time, there's this underlining desire of what happens in this next chapter? What happens when 10, 12 years from now, when they are in school? Well, the time comes and no one prepares you for this transition of being a full-time parent to oh, I've got time on my hands. What am I doing? I can't just show up at the aquarium by myself and hang out at the ground.
Well, you could. It's kind of creepy, but you could.
Not really the same without little ones around. So I was practicing a lot of yoga every day, meditation, going outside, hanging out with friends, going for lunches, and doing a lot of things that was really taking care of myself and things that I really enjoyed. And it was in one of my meditation practices. I was like, okay, this is getting clearer and clearer. And then that afternoon, being outside, you know, getting my hands dirty, pulling a carrot out of the ground, and this toddler comes running over and it's like, oh, that thing's covered in dirt. I'm like, of course it's covered in dirt. That's where food comes from. Get your hands in here. You can find some other treasures. It'll be so much fun. Well, you can imagine his eyes and curiosity lit up, and he's just about to get his hands in the dirt, and his mom comes running over, and she's like, no, 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 yelling at him. Don't touch the dirt. Don't do that. Your clothes are going to get dirty. We're going to a birthday party later. I don't want you to be dirty. That's gross. Get out of there. Grabs his little hand and pulls him away. And just like that, yeah, just like that, this joy and curiosity and wonder turned into sadness, anger, maybe some resentments in there. And he's crying.
Yeah.
Like, man, what a lost opportunity, even if it's just a couple minutes of experiencing that. It's like, what is this idea that playing in the dirt is dirty, that it's wrong, that we can't be doing these things? And then, you know, there's a whole nother layer of like why we should, the microbes and connecting to the earth and the energy around that, how nourishing that is for our bodies. So as I was trying to go to sleep that night, everything from my past, everything that I knew that this company will be, the colors, the textures, where the product would come from, how it would look and feel, the fact that I grew up with a backyard garden and living in the city, I don't have access to one. So coming from generations of farmers on both sides from two completely different countries, all of that generational knowledge got lost on me because I live in the city. I was like, no, that can't be. That can't be. How could that possibly be? And so when I woke up, I was like, this is what I'm to be doing. And every decision that I've made for the company from that point was just like, this is the direction. And the next doorway opened up, the next person to meet, the next event to be at. Like it just flowed with so much ease. And it was this beautiful, like, oh, of course, this is what I'm to be doing. It felt very light and full and happy. And so from that place of recognizing like, a calling to serve not only my family's history, to support a future generation and tying it all back to Mother Nature in a way that I didn't even recognize as a child growing up, that this is where I'm directed to go. Like if I were to say to my parents, no, I'm going to be selling t-shirts out of my kitchen, out of my living room, out of the back of my car. Several years that wouldn't have been a thing. But now we see, I know through my own company and I know through other companies that create a physical product in the most eco-friendly way and give that back and support communities in another way, creates this beautiful ecosystem of clients that are coming in, not for a transaction, but to really be involved and participate in something that they know they can trust and see a change moving forward.
Oh, Henrietta.
It gets me like,
Pardon?
It gets me excited and like filled.
Yeah. Well, what a beautiful, beautiful story and an example. You know, I think that is sort of the answer that I was not the answer, but the what do I want to highlight here? Firstly, how beautiful that you experienced that moment. You know, with the little boy, and that you were aware and in your life in such a way that you were in partnership with life, and is how I would name it, to be led and informed by these experiences, and then to allow life to emerge in that way. And I'm curious, actually, there's just about a million questions going through my brain right now. Of course, like it feels like a contrast between the kind of work you were describing of systems and structures and putting things in place, contrasting that with this emergent way. How do these worlds intersect for you? How does that play out? Is this?
Yeah, absolutely. When I started, I think with anybody starting a business, really good research comes into play, right? Understanding, well, what's out there already? Are there competitors? Am I in the same playing field, or is this something different? So really understanding like what the foundation is that you're that you're starting from and what already exists. So being able to dive into that and study that a little bit was important. And then how I create a product, there's many, many steps along the way. And so to have that disciplined focus of understanding, this is what happens when I pick up the phone or when I talk to a client. What is their experience as they're coming towards me? Can I be mindful of how we are interacting, and what does that look like? And how much of it can it be supernatural versus a script, right? And then the next component of, well, where's the product coming from? Well, what kind of research am I doing? Being able to research enough and follow the rabbit hole into manufacturing, and being super clear on the type of manufacturing that I'm looking for, so that it gets, not only putting it out there into the universe and saying, I am looking for energy efficient, clean location, fair wages, as close to home as possible. What does that all look like? And mind you, there's many roadblocks along the way, but I was like, okay, not this doorway, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm, yeah.
And then production, like, what does production look like? What type of materials do I need? How much time does it take in between? And so to understand those details of, you know, when a shirt gets pulled into a roll, and then it gets cut into a fabric, and then it gets printed, and then it gets packaged. To understand every detail of that, I think I learned that beforehand in my corporate world. And so to me, it just became easy to say, okay, well, this is what's happening next, and to go here and go here, and to create a system process right from the get-go that allows me to grow and be supported in what happens next. What I see many times now is that people won't even do the research. They just call up and say, this is what I want to do. Okay, well, what are all the steps that you've learned so far? And there hasn't been, you know, understanding those details of how your entire organization works, I think is incredibly important, especially when you want to be able to grow and develop that out further. And I know where this company is going, right? And it won't be able to go there without those systems and processes in place firsthand.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, I mean, like you, I've been around the block, and the kind of the ability, I guess why I drew this out is because I don't notice this ability in many people, that they have both of these. You know, what I'm hearing and sensing from you is that you have this ability to create structure around the whole system, to understand and name the steps, and the ability to be emergent within that as well. And I think if we don't understand the landscape that we're operating with, we're not as effective in being discerning and tuning into what is the correct next step, and having that blend of emergence, you know, coming in there as well. And what I notice in many of the folks that I work with is that they have either, they're in a bit of an either. They're either right into the, like, maybe too much in the structure, the rigidity, not enough ability to go like this, because as we both know, you think it's going to be like this, but actually it's like, and then maybe it's over here for a while and then it's back, and you know, excuse me, it's like a tightrope walk a lot of the time. But you know, they're too fixed in that way, or they're too emergent, or too like, I just want to do this, and don't have any understanding of the bigger picture they're in. And so, you know, I think some folks need another person around them who can, you know, who can bring in these skills and help. This is something that I'm talking about with my team as well, of how do we reach the next level of stability in our, what I notice with kind of all of the things that I've created over my time of creating things in my businesses is that everything kind of reaches a stage where it's time to create another scaffold around the next, you know, the next level you want to build. What I love just sensing into you and hearing from you is that you really understand that, and I hope the way that I'm articulating this makes sense, is that the process is the product. Like how we do something and the quality of who we are and what we put into it shows up directly in the physical, you know, which is to me the difference between being transactional and transformational. And what I love about you is your holistic approach to all of this. It's incredible. How, tell us a little bit about, we're almost at time, and I've got 2 more questions that I want to ask you. The first is, tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you've faced and how you've navigated them, and what are some of the roadblocks that have shown up for you on your journey?
I think we all sort of experience this is the environment in which you can be nurtured in, is that you get to a certain space, and especially when you're starting out, and it was like, oh, I've got this brilliant idea, and you work at it solo, you're gathering all the information, and then you're ready to share, right? And then you're just like, oh, wait a second, how exactly are we gonna do that? Who's gonna do this? Where are you gonna be doing that? And a lot of questions start to emerge, and rightfully so. Like, people who care about you are going to be curious and want the best for you. However, to remain the course, that their insecurities that they have about what you're doing is a reflection of them and not necessarily you. And so to really know who I am and how I'm delivering, and the heart that I want to drive and deliver that to, no one else can tell me what that is. That's really, really trusting myself, really, really trusting my ability. And it's been a lifetime, right? It's been a lifetime of all these different experiences that bring me back and go, Henrietta, you're equipped for this. You know how to do this. You've gone through this before, and you're well equipped to continue doing this further. So to put that trust, and it's almost like I'm doing this, so like a blind trust into what's to come, especially when you are soulfully guided by a higher calling and you're just a channel of expression for it. There's no other sensation that can describe that. Like, you just feel light, and you feel like there's just constant yes. Your body feels charged and ready to move forward with that. Lost my train of thought after that. I'm like, I'm feeling all light now.
I know, me too. I'm up here.
Some of the challenges would be onboarding other visionaries who not only see where it is that you're going, can support that vision that you have for it, but also go, hey, I am really, really good at this part, and I can see myself participating in what you're doing to really elevate the next stage of what's happening. And that's a very different person that I'm looking for to build out this team, versus here's the skills of things that you need to do, and here's a task of what you'll be doing next. And it's okay for some things, and to know that it will be executed really, really well. But for the next phase of growing, to have that team that says, I see that, and this is how we're going to do there, because I have the skills already in place, and we're going to make that even better. Right.
I mean, I just couldn't relate more to what you just said. I've like you, I imagine you've built lots of teams, and I've been around the block as well and building teams, and I'm really experimenting this time around, in terms of where my life and work is. I've really, in the last couple of years, made a sacred commitment to myself around, okay, how do I really want to utilize the time, the useful time that I have left on the planet? And I mean that very intentionally. It feels, the stakes feel higher to me, and I don't mean that in a burdened way. I just mean, I've spent this lifetime cultivating this particular set of skills that I have, which are needed, and it feels important to me for those to be fully expressed. And it feels important for me to, one of the things I've been doing as I cultivate and develop my team is that seeking out folks who have that spark first, or who have that resonant energy, and then allowing their skills to shine within that, rather than seeking out someone who matches a job description, or and I'm not, you know, it's certainly, we have very different kinds of businesses, and that I don't create any physical products yet, but I want to come and talk to you about how to do that.
I'll book you in.
Yeah, I want to come to the next. Yes. We'll talk afterwards. You know, I really, especially as I bring in younger and younger people into my team, who really have this, they're sort of mini me's in a way, and people who see the vision and then can, you know, work together to make it happen. What I know now about job descriptions is that, I don't know, I think they're still a product of the Industrial Revolution, and I know that they're important, especially in organizations that require certain things to be, you know, there's definitely a place for the lists and the tick boxes.
Like, yeah, they love that. They're just like, let me execute it.
Please. Yeah. And so, just cultivating teams in that way. But for me, one of my biggest lessons has been, yes, I'm the leader of the team, and it's my job to get out of people's way.
Yes.
And to create environments where, I want to use a garden analogy, where all of our beautiful different flowers can bloom where they belong. I mean, if I just look out at my garden now, the people who originally planned this garden, which wasn't me, they planted some things in places where they're never going to thrive.
Right.
You know? And so, okay, I love that. Okay, I could talk to you forever, as always. As always, what I'm really curious about is how can folks experience working with you and being in your presence, and
thank you.
Where can we find you and
okay,
and obsessively stalk you? Carry on.
I love that. Several ways. So for TAGULAN, if you're interested in learning more about our products, go to tagulan.com, TAGULAN.
Okay.
If you're interested if you're a brand that has values that align with us and also want to give back to community in some way, we do special collaborations with these brands. And we work with you in co-creating a really beautiful wardrobe capsule for yourself and for your audience as well. And what we know about our product is people will wear it over and over and over again. So if they're wearing a product that they love and a brand that speaks to them, they are talking about who you are and what they're doing and why they wear what they're wearing.
So hang on, because I'm having an out-of-body experience. Are you saying that you collaborate with brands to create their own?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly with print right now, just because of how manufacturing has been. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did you say print? Mostly with print.
Mostly with print. Like we have styles that we know work really well. We've gone through the rigors of market.
So you've got the styles and then got it. Yeah.
So we work through, so we have t-shirts, racer back tanks, crop tops, whatever is in fashion, and then the colors that go with it. And we combine all of these elements together so that you have a really beautiful capsule that you want to wear. So we can talk about that and work through that. So that's our special collaborations.
Yeah. This just me for myself now, audience. Like I just forget about you there. But anyway, yeah, back to you. Yes, and
now that we're able to experience each other more, we'll be doing markets again and festivals. So as they become more public again, you'll find us locally here in Vancouver at some of our local markets. You'll find us at festivals throughout North America. And then we'll also be holding our own events throughout North America. And what they are is an event for kids, they're garden parties. So one for the kids, it's essentially a petting zoo. So kids can come to a community garden in the city and like feel dirt, look at carrots, see how kale grows, all of those things. So we'll do that event in the day. And then in the evening is a farm to table event. So we'll work with local farms and local chefs to create an evening experience for adults. So we'll be doing Vancouver, California, Colorado, New York, Florida, Toronto, Alberta, and then making our way back here. Yeah, we love our.
Wow.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So really excited for that, because, you know, we're all going to be ready to be with each other and have good food and listen to good music and just be fully present. And I think that's what our brand has really emphasized, and will continue to emphasize, is that what happens when we slow down and we're at the table, when we can look at the person across from us and really take a moment to soak them in, and then to enjoy that with nourishing food, right? To taste the textures, the feel, the food, and knowing that that's all nourishing to us. And then to be in the presence of other really good people, like the sensation and the vibration is already really high. And then you walk away with that, with new friends that you want to love, an environment that you feel loved and supported in, and to take that into the other places where you as a drop, so a little raindrop, will trickle out and affect others in your space. And that's our intent, and our goal is just to feel that elevation and to ripple that out in any ways that we can do that, around food, around mindfulness, around just being in good presence of wonderful people like yourself and your community, of course. That's our desire for that.
Henrietta, as we close out, firstly, I want to say what a privilege to talk with you today. And what I want to name in you is that I talk a lot in my work about being and becoming our message, being the physical, emotional, spiritual embodiment of what we're here to do. And when I experience you, that is who you are. You know, and that is a gift. Like that is just such a rare gift. And I honor the journey that you've taken to cultivate who you are, because it doesn't happen by accident. I know that for sure. It takes intention, and I honor that in you, and thank you for this beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely.
I'm going to post links to how folks can find you afterwards. And for right now, as we close off, there are many women in my audience who have a dream. They know that they're here for a different purpose. And they're at all different stages, you know, whether that's just an awakening and understanding that they're yearning for something different, towards, you know, women who are attempting to bring their visions into full bloom. We'll just do the big question at the end. What's one or two messages that you would love the women who are following us and who may be listening to this to hear?
What a beautiful question. To really take that moment to pause and to be with yourself and to listen to what it is that you already know. No one externally is going to be able to tell you what that is. Externally, you will find others that will see you, that will support you, that will elevate you. And that invitation to others cannot occur until you sit quietly with yourself and take that moment for whatever it is that you need. And it may be rest for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It may be that. And it may be just allowing the invitations to naturally unfold. The people that come in are meant to come into your world for some reason. Allow them to, because they see you. I see you.
That is such a beautiful way to finish, and I'll chime in and say that to allow ourselves permission to do that. And maybe this is an ironic thing to say, but to notice how nature informs this. Notice how nature goes through its cycles, how nature rests in preparation for blooming, and that it's okay for us to follow our natural design as humans. Henrietta Devine, enabler of all good things, thank you so much for joining me today. And it was a privilege and honor to speak with you. And I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Let us know your experience of witnessing us today. And I will see you next week.
Thank you.
And I'm going to stop being live.